My name is Radhika, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back to another episode of Teal Bytes. Today, we are excited to have with us Mr. Shantanu Patro, Global Head, Site Reliability Engineering at Wipro. With extensive leadership experience across IT products and services companies, Shantanu has served in key roles such as advisor, consultant, enterprise architect, and pre sales expert. He has worked with CXOs worldwide and helping them craft IT strategies, enhance infrastructure, and integrate emerging technologies has been invaluable in future proofing their businesses. Shantanu, very warm welcome to Teal Bytes.
Thank you.
Great. So, Shantanu, today we would like to get your insights on that, given your expertise and background, what is your vision for the future of site reliability engineering in a world increasingly dominated by hybrid and multi cloud solutions? Your
Sure.
views, Shantanu.
Thank you for this opportunity to share my views on this topic.
Pleasure, Shantanu.
Uh, Radhika, see what we have seen historically, right? For the last couple of years, SRE is something that every large enterprise wants to adopt to a larger scale. While it has come out with various challenges, from challenges and some benefit that it comes into play, what
Right,
we see from a key ingredient to succeed for an SRE in an enterprise, right, is one of the aspects of having a handshake with the business in terms of how IT, when it designs the SLA, the solutions, the business needs are also taken into considerations as one of the key factors.
okay,
A very frequent collaboration between the vision, plan, expectation of business, and transforming into an IT solution. But while we talk all of that, we also need to understand from an IT perspective, right? Now, let's say if you're talking about SRE, today, what we see in future is that the SRE would consist of three basic pillars. One is reliability, which is more focused on a systems that needs to be, remain performant, secure, and meet all those SLOs that are defined for those applications and the
okay,
underlying infrastructure.
okay,
The second one is tolerability. It's all about how much my system can tolerate of all those errors and the impact that comes into play, to what extent I can push the things back and not fail.
okay,
And the last part is recoverability, where if I fail from a tolerability perspective, I exceed the thresholds for which I have designed my system.
yeah,
How fast can I come back and
correct,
make the business back as usual?
right,
Look at it in today's form. All the three are been driven in very isolated manner. Reliability, there's a different team. Tolerability, it goes only during the phase of design. And
okay,
recoverability, it's owned by your DR or your backup team.
right,
And there is no coordination and planning across all. What
okay,
we see in future is looking at all these three critical components.
hmm,
The SRE would be an anchor to all the three, stitching across all the three for planning, designing, execution, and ownership will be driven by SRE. That's where we see a major success or breakthrough in SRE in an enterprise. While this is one of aspect that we talk about, right?
right,
The other thing that we also see today is every time everyone wants to say that if things go wrong, using this, using that, like automations and other stuff, let me fix my things faster.
hmm,
How can I make my MTTR, right, mean time to resolution, much
hmm,
better?
right,
But then we have also heard the term, right? Immunity in an apple a day keeps a doctor away.
yeah,
That means we are working on the immunity part.
right,
Today, what we see in future also is that digital immunity becomes one of the key parameter or a critical aspect that SRE would drive. Why we talk about digital immunity is because what are the actions that an enterprise needs to plan and perform to ensure that they are not impacted. And two very, very important functions that impact or that build that digital immunity story is one is observability, and the second part is chaos engineering. And when we talk about observability today, it's one, I think, so one of the most sought out solution by every enterprise in the market today. Every enterprise.
Okay.
While this observability is being designed and built by those standard off the shelf monitoring solutions, what we see as an evolution in this observability is monitoring as a code. And
Okay.
this is where specifically your developers would come in and help design the framework for your monitoring, make it custom for what is needed out there,
Right.
and build that observability ecosystem. It's
Okay.
all about custom fitting, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the next one is the chaos engineering part, and which is again one of the technology which is on a very slow pace expanding into the market, but it is expanding. People are seeing a value into that. And
Okay.
this is where people actually design test cases and run the test cases on the ecosystem so that the application actually crashes, and they understand better on what are the reasons that application crashes.
Yeah. Like
Fix all
real
those.
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what happens in that perspective is you are deliberately crashing the system
Hmm.
so that you have time to fix all the gaps.
Right.
Tomorrow, if it would have happened without your knowledge, and that had happened unexpectedly, you
Yeah.
would not have that time and that mental peace to go and fix it, right? And
Absolutely.
so this becomes more of a prevention, and hence we talk about improving digital immunity,
Right. Interesting.
right? And now with this, where the digital immunity as one of the key functions getting evolved into the market today, two things that is coming up very important questions by people, right? And having GenAI into play.
Hmm.
With all the things coming in, right? When you talk about SRE, you have application and infrastructure both under managed under one guy, right? At a level.
Right.
First question that people ask me is, will AI replace engineers? But that's what we are seeing as a trend, because automation is also one of the key component
Yeah.
of a success of SRE. And people are asking questions, will AI replace SRE engineers? I said no. What we are seeing is an engineer who can run AI or who can use AI will replace the engineers.
Right. Right. So yeah, this skill is become like a necessity now more, right? Like
Yes.
AI skills. Yeah, I totally agree.
And hence I called, right? Today, my AI is a salt in my food. It
Hmm.
is needed, right?
Correct. Correct.
And other aspect that we also talk about is our evolution of the role.
Hmm.
Earlier, we used to have like an OS engineer, one infra engineer, one app engineer, one tool engineer. But
Right.
then when all the merging happens from an SRE perspective,
Hmm.
what a role is getting evolved is called as a digital therapist,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And that a person who owns the application infrastructure, underlying infrastructure, automation, observability, all under one guy, and he drives those
Right.
aspects into ensuring that the resolution happens based on those revised SLAs and SLOs that we are talking about out here. A digital therapist a role is evolving in the market today.
Right.
Down the line, you would see, people not asking for an L1 engineer or an L2 engineer, but asking for a digital therapist to
Therapist.
fit
Yeah.
into the ecosystem.
That's a new term that I've heard, a digital therapist, but very true. Like, I mean, with so much happening, we do need these digital therapists, like who basically have all the skills, right?
Yeah, and it makes sense if you look at it. I can't just call a guy when I explain
Hmm.
about what is the person I'm looking into. Yeah, the SRE engineer should know apps, SRE engineer should know infra, and the customers are confused,
Hmm.
right? What I'm talking about. In fact, a term like digital therapist by the name defines what is expected from that role.
Right. Right.
Right? And one of the very also important uh, solution that is evolving and becomes a very, very key critical aspect of a success of SRE is called AIR, which is called automated incident response.
Okay.
This is evolving and it's growing like a fire in the market today. My strong recommendations for every enterprise to look into it and adopt. Uh, the success, when we talk about business and IT collaboration, right? A business expects that if something doesn't go well, how
Hmm.
fast can IT work into it, right? Or
Absolutely.
solve it.
Yeah.
But then when I talk about how fast my IT can solve, I define a term called as MTTR, right? But for me, my mean time to resolution or resolve, it depended on two other parameters. One is MTTA, which is called mean time to acknowledge. When a
Okay.
ticket is generated,
Okay.
if somebody does not respond on time, acknowledge on time, the resolutions are becoming delayed, right?
Right.
That MTTA becomes very, very critical.
Right.
The second part is MTTD, which is my mean time to detect. Once
Hmm.
I acknowledge that I've received the ticket, I
Yeah.
also need to know what has happened,
Right. Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
hence, my MTTA is solved by AIR, which is automated incident response.
Yeah.
My MTTD, if solved by my digital immunity, which is the observability and other stuff and chaos that comes into play.
Right.
My AIR will help in terms of collaborations, RC and stuff. Plus, with the AI and automations and the knowledge of the SRE engineer is
Hmm.
where you start impacting on MTTD. So this is overall in a nutshell what I see people moving towards for a greater adoption success of SRE in future. Happy to, if you have any questions, to let me address
No,
that.
I think sounds great, and I think you explained it very well. And a digital therapist is something new that I have learned, and um, all I can say is thank you so much, Shantanu, for sharing your valuable insights. I really really appreciate it, and I look forward to connecting you again. Again soon. On many other such topics, Shantanu.
Sure. Happy to do so. Thank you,
Thank
Radhika.